Right, so I'm going to ask Brigid from Leipzig to say a few words about her market and festival.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's actually, for me, a real pleasure to be here because, funnily enough, it's often quite difficult for me to find participants for our market from Great Britain. So I really encourage you all to submit your projects. Leipzig, if you aren't familiar with us, is actually the oldest documentary and animated film festival in the world. We've been around for 58 editions. So we come with a rich tradition, but we still try pretty hard to adapt agilely with the times, including not only do we program animation and documentary, but also since last year we have an interactive section that we consider part of our official selection and goes through the normal selection channels as the films. But I'm actually responsible for the market, which runs parallel to the festival. So our doc industry program is the umbrella. We have 3 mandates. The first one is for the distribution and circulation, both commercial and non-commercial, of completed non-fiction films. The second is for co-financing of non-fiction films. And the third is for basically business-to-business exchange and the development of innovative business models and business practices. And within this kind of innovative space, this means that we can also address things like animation and interactive works, projects, co-financing, etc., which gives us a lot of flexibility and is very cool because you have the opportunity to then have encounters with people maybe from outside your traditional network. We like to think of ourselves as smaller and friendlier, but that doesn't mean that our network is any smaller. We actually have almost 2,000 accredited delegates in Leipzig from usually around 70 countries. We also have, I suppose, the luck in Germany of having a complete audiovisual chain at the moment. So that means within our film funding systems, we have development, production, post-production, outreach, and theatrical support available through our film funds. We have still public broadcasters who are, thank God, investing good money in projects. But as Paul has already detailed, life gets more and more difficult every day. So I guess what we consider to be the most important part of the audiovisual chain are independent producers, like 50% of yourselves, and with the beautiful directors whose works you support. And so in this sense, our co-production market, our .copro market, which is probably the flagship of my market activities, is really dedicated to producer-producer exchange. You will fight me on this, producers, because I know you want access to the decision makers that you consider to be important, who are the film funds and the broadcasters. But we really believe that independent producers often act in the same capacity as decision makers, particularly because we're very focused on theatrical documentaries that are developed for the big screen, big stories, not necessarily in tone, but that's what we're really interested in finding. Because of our dual strands, we're also very interested in supporting creative documentaries, particularly that have maybe animated elements, animated documentaries, and even in the festival we award, I think it's 10,000 euros, it's good money, for the best animated documentary, either a feature or a short. So that's definitely always on our radar. We also have a hackathon. We partner with all kinds of institutions to do that. So this year it's still open, but we've done it with Tribeca in the past and also Netzdoku. We have a bunch of panel discussions. We have daily cocktails. And more interestingly, at the moment, we're in the process of stretching our activities outside of the festival week and becoming sort of what we like to describe as a centre of competence. So I think it's really important to remember that behind every festival are faces and human beings who are programming, who are organising, who are booking filmmakers or producers, flights and travels. And we are actually available to you if you're interested in talking to us. I love destruction. I love talking about co-financing models. And all you have to do is pick up the phone and give me a holler, and I'm happy to chew your ear off about German financing possibilities. So I guess that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you. So, can you just remind us when it takes place?
Yeah, that's a good point. So actually now is the perfect time to have a chat. The festival takes place on the 31st of October to the 6th of November. Our market activities are focused around the first 3 days of the festival, which also means that you can take advantage maybe of a package, meaning that You could come, for example, to Documentary Campus, whose final pitch is the weekend before Doc Leipzig, and then stay on for our market activities. I should also say, inside our co-production market, we don't have a central pitch. We only have individual meetings. We have around 80 financiers, be they broadcasters, film funds, small amounts of private equity, distributors, theatrical distributors, and what we really try to do is forge constellations. So that means we look at the projects that we select. We think, okay, this could be interesting to produce with the German producer, and then we make sure that that we have also the theatrical distributors and the broadcaster and the local film fund from one particular region in attendance in order to actually maybe try and make some good deals.
So it's quite bespoke then?
Yeah, really. We only take 35 projects. And so the best time to be there is at the beginning of the week.
Okay. Anna, can you tell us a bit about Sheffield and the MeetMarket?
Sure. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Sheffield Doc Fest is an international documentary film festival. We happen every year in June. This year we're the 10th to the 15th of June. We have a extensive film programme, a very strong interactive strand which permeates across our market activities, exhibition, and also our talks and sessions. We have a talks and sessions programme, and then we have the marketplace, which is the part of the festival I head up. The central activity in the marketplace is the MeetMarket, which is our flagship one-to-one pitching forum. We select around 65 projects from open submissions, which are actually closed now. We open every year in January and close in March. So if you've entered the MeetMarket, you'll be finding out very soon if you were successful.
Just as a matter of interest, how many submissions did you get this year?
We get around 600 submissions every year.
So that's kind of 1 in 10 chance of getting through.
Yeah, exactly. So the submissions are assessed by the market team, but also an international assessment committee who change every year and are people that are working in the documentary industry as distributors or commissioners, funders, so they really know what they're doing when they're picking the projects. Alongside the MeetMarket, we also run a one-to-one pitching opportunity for virtual reality and interactive projects. It's called the Alternate Realities Market. So we like to create the best possible opportunity for business connections to happen, and that's why the MeetMarket can be very successful. So the idea is that all the meetings are match made. So each side of the table has a chance to look at each other and note their interest, so that when they finally meet in the session, it will be much more productive. It looks, when you go into the MeetMarket, it looks like a big speed dating room, I suppose. It happens over 2 days, and the producers and directors who are pitching the projects will have around, 20 to 40 meetings over those 2 days. So we have around 300 decision makers, we call them, coming to the festival each year. And they are funders, broadcasters, distributors, sales agents, and they come from all over the world. And yeah.
Well, one thing I've noticed with the decision makers is there seem to be executive producers there as well, doing meetings with people who are pitching projects, but also film festivals as well. So is that quite a new sort of strategy? Or?
Yeah, well noticed. We do have a few execs in the market and also festivals, because it's just very useful to meet those people, even early on in the process. I mean, the documentary community, as many of you may know, is quite small. So just having discussions with those people can be great for that project or the project after, and just kind of getting them to know your face. And also, I mean, having a good exec on board is obviously going to be extremely good for your project. It can be the vote of confidence that a broadcaster will need in order to commission you. So, yeah.
Thank you. Irem? Do you want to so you're different because you're just a market, aren't you? There's no festival
You don't have
attached
the
to
trend,
Sunnyside.
basically. Yeah, exactly. Well, the main difference, hello everybody, this is Irem from Sunnyside of the Dock. We are based in France, 27th year, one of the oldest markets in documentary industry. And we are a market, we don't have a festival. So our event is completely closed to public. Each year, 2,000 professionals, around 2,000, 2,500 professionals coming from around 70 countries. Depending on the year, we could go up to 300 decision makers. For us, decision makers are broadcasters, commissioners, digital platforms, funders, foundations, and investing distributors. We have 7 central pitch sessions. So we don't have the MeetMarket approach or co-production market approach. You are pitching on stage in front of specialized decision makers. While I'm saying specialized decision makers, it is very important to understand Sunnyside is actually, it is specialized in TV content, and it is a specialist factual content market. We don't do creative docs because we cannot help them. What we are looking for is TV documentaries. So we are looking for science, we are looking for history, we are looking for arts and culture, we are looking for high-end primetime docs. And that's how we could actually help them, because our decision makers, when they come to Sunnyside, they come to see those docs and they invest in those docs. The market is...
Sorry, so when you say they come to see them, are these films that have already been produced, or are they...
No, they're
this
in
is on the
development.
pitch, yeah.
So basically, there are 2 sides of the market of Sunnyside. There's a side where you have stands, you have booths, a bit like at MIP, so you are selling and acquiring finished programs, and we have a co-production forum that is attached to it. We have 7 central pitch sessions. We showcase around 42 projects each year. I'm saying 7 official pitch sessions, and then we have 2 or 3 unofficial ones that are around. And the market is organized by delegations. We go from the, our principle is that you're stronger when you're in the delegation. If you're coming from the UK, if you're coming like 40 of you together, you're much more stronger than coming by yourself all alone in the market. So we work with institutions all over the world. We work with foundations all over the world to organize delegations. We work with EDN. We work with the Polish Film Institute. We work with Media Desk to organize delegations. So your presence would be much more important and notifiable in a 3,000 square marketplace.
So for British people, British producers wanting to come to Sunnyside,
well, we've been trying
how
to
should
deal
they
with PACT.
Okay, so
but
so it's really PACT.
they don't seem to be very interested.
And so PACT is a producers' organisation in the UK, for anyone who doesn't know that.
We have a quite big UK presence, actually, over the past 2-3 years, but we don't have an umbrella organisation. So we've been discussing with Media Desk to do that together, actually. If PACT or not PACT, we're going to have a UK village. So we will have special rates for UK producers this year.
Okay.
So
I haven't been to Sunnyside for about 5 years, but I remember the last time I went, I found that the majority of broadcasters there were French.
That has been changed.
Is that still the case?
No, that has changed.
Okay. So
I'm not,
who could I expect to meet? If
I'm not going to lie to you. It's a market in France, so there are a lot of French there. So if you don't like France, you will be meeting a lot of French. But on the other hand, I'm not going to lie to you. If we're talking about documentary industry, the most important documentary industry today, the locomotive of the whole documentary industry today is the UK, it's France, and it's Germany. And when we look at the co-productions that are going on in terms of documentaries these days, most of the co-productions are going in between France, Germany, because of Arte and this special funding system that they have, but also within UK, Germany, and France.
And if you don't like the French Arte commissioning editors, you can always come and meet the German ones at Dock Leipzig 6 months later. I don't know if they're nicer. They're certainly people, like all of us. But in my market, I know of 2 projects in the last 2 years that came to us from French producers after the door at Arte France had been closed for various reasons, and picked up German co-producer and then co-produced through Arte Germany with a different set of strings that come attached to that. So it's always good, I think, when you're looking at the market to think about when you're thinking to apply to markets, to think strategically about what makes sense for your project. And my number one piece of advice is before, like, I think all of our markets cost money, like you have to pay for your participation.
Yeah. I was going to ask you all in a minute.
So that means before you pay 1 cent, it doesn't matter how expensive or how cheap it is, look at the guest list of the year before, demand a guest list from the event organizers to make sure that there are actually people who have the ability to be a catalyst for your project.
There's just last thing that I wanted to say is that Sunnyside is organized around themes. So we have actually thematic days. So we have a day for history, we have a day for arts and culture, we have a day for science. So each day, when you plan your market, Sunnyside, you come to those days that actually interests for you. And when you pitch in front for those themes, for example, if you're pitching a history project, you're pitching in front of, let's say, 50, 60 specialized history commissioners. And they're not coming only from France, they're coming from Germany, they're coming from Asia, they're coming from the United States, they're coming from all over the world, which helps producers to actually plan their trip. Because it's very expensive to stay 4 days in a market or 5 days in a market. And so if you were to come to Sunnyside, make sure that you have the program, not only the guest lists, but you have the program, and make sure that actually what you want to achieve collides well with the thematic days.
So again, it's quite a bespoke sort of approach to producers coming with a project. So just talking about money, could you just quickly tell me, all of you, how much it costs to attend your market in terms of buying the accreditation or the badge or whatever? And if there are any fees for applying as well?
I think I'm pretty cheap, actually, like a cheap date. So basically there's 2 strands. And I can't speak for the others, so they can tell you if they do the same thing. So there's like an exclusive market that is closed for projects that we curate, and that's not just for projects in development, which we take for the co-production market, but also some rough cut screenings that we offer now from this year. And that is bound with a participation fee. For our co-production market, for also about 40 individual meetings over 2 days with broadcasters and the rest of the gang, is €200 for 1 participant or €300 for 2 participants. And I don't budge on that. We only allow 2 people in per project, because we have capacity issues and we want to keep it small. But then you can purchase a regular festival badge for €100, and that regular festival badge still grants you access to decision makers, but in a non-exclusive setting. So that means that we also program individual meetings between decision makers, including festival programmers, and commissioning editors and film funds and producers through a different channel that isn't bound to a project in speed dating sense. It gives you access also to us because we do daily like office hours for people with projects maybe in the festival who are looking for distribution strategies or to connect with a certain region. And also what we do, and I'm always happy to welcome new partners for this, is if you can organise a delegation of up to 10 people, then we'll give you 50% off the accreditation badge price. So that means you only pay €50 per accreditation, which is a really good price for then the services you can get in return.
So maybe some people should get together outside and form that
But
delegation.
don't all 10 of you send me an email, please? Elect somebody group leader.
Somebody.
Yeah. Okay, Anna, can you tell us about Sheffield?
Yeah, so if you're accepted into MeetMarket, there's a badge. The market badge is £249 plus VAT. And that is your market badge, but it also gives you access to the rest of the festival. So everything, films, talks and sessions, the parties, very important to know about. And that is £50 cheaper than the full festival pass. So you're getting a pretty good deal there.
That's an amazing deal.
So if you're lucky enough to have a previous film that you've made programmed in the festival, do you get a free pass?
Yes, there are some exceptions.
Okay. And if you're lucky enough to have a project chosen for MeetMarket as well, does that mean you can get into MeetMarket for free or not?
Not ideally, because I have targets to meet. However, on the occasion that you're also bringing 2 other people with you to pitch the project, we might let that slide.
Sorry, I have to add one thing about how to get into markets for free. I can give you like one tip in my case. Doc Leipzig also awards prizes. So we award accelerator seats into the co-production market through training initiatives. And also at other markets. So we work a lot, particularly with East Europe and Latin America, where we handpick a project out of maybe a pitch or out of a training initiative, and then we cover your accommodation and your badge price. And we also feel like we have a deep kind of commitment and connection to East Europe. So usually if we get a project, say, from somewhere like Georgia, where the financial support for independent producers is very, very low, then usually we'll make exceptions and waive fees. So sometimes it's also a good strategic decision to get your, in inverted commas, poor co-producer to apply on your behalf.
Okay, thank you.
I just wondered, we also have a number of organisational discounts with various different people, and if you want to, you may be a member of, I don't know, Shooting People or something like that. So you can access discounts through those people. They're on our website if you want to look, and that's even cheaper. I think that's £199.
Thank you. So, Irem.
So right before the panel started, I told that I will be the dragon lady of this conversation. We are expensive.
Yeah.
We are really expensive, actually. But we are really expensive if you're paying the full price. But then again, nobody really pays the full price because you're always a part of some delegation or some institution. Or you're coming from a low capacity country, or you're coming from Asia, or you're coming from Poland, or whatever. So there's always a way around. But if you were to pay full price, oh my God, I don't even know, because we have a very complicated pricing system. But it's around, let's say, 600 euros. And your badge gives you access to everything, basically. You come, you have full access to the marketplace, to the whole events, 1 year to all our database, which is quite extensive database. You have your projects, your films on the catalog, on our online library where buyers use to look. You have an access to special matchmaking systems, expert systems, morning docs, every single initiative that we organize for producers. So it is expensive, but you have access to all, basically. And you have access to everybody. So we are not a closed market. If you have buyers, they're around, they're in the market, they're very available, and you can just meet with them. Just be careful not to approach them in the toilets. They hate that. And basically. Okay. But Sunnyside is a very business-oriented event. It's closed to public. So it's expensive, basically.
Okay. So I was going to put forward the sort of imaginary scenario of 3 projects I've got as, as a producer, and I wanted each of you to tell me how you could help me with those projects coming to your festival or market, and if there was a project that I shouldn't bring to you, and also an idea of the kind of people that I might meet who might be able to help me get these projects off the ground. So I've got 3 projects. One of them is a virtual reality project. One of them is a 3-part access-based documentary with access to a British institution. And the other is a feature documentary that's got interviews, archive, reconstruction, sort of historical story. So, Irem, do you want to tell me which projects I should bring to?
I will take the historical
and also at which stage, some of them might just be ideas, some of them might be something I've got a taster tape for, or some of them I might already have broadcaster interest for from Britain.
Mm-hmm. Well, for us, what really works well, we don't accept projects that are in early development stage. We don't accept ideas because we cannot help them. So what we're looking for is projects that are in late development stage, already a trailer, already a good treatment, solid treatment, already at least a partner attached. So a broadcaster, it can be a funding, it can be an investing distributor, when I say investing distributor, I'm talking about an investing distributor who puts money, not just letter of intent. And you have your treatment, you have your financial schedule, you have your plan, and you know where you're going, and you're going to deliver that film within a shorter period of time, because we don't have today in our ecosystem, in television system, we don't wait for 3 years anymore. We cannot, basically. So the turnover is quite fast. It's getting faster and faster, and what we would like to help and what we would like to have is late development stage projects. If you have a film that can be a very personal story, that can be a human interest story, if you have a film that needs archives, if you have a historical film, we have a special history day that you could actually meet with every single professional that is involved in history. That could be archives, that could be production studios, that could be colorization studios, not only decision makers, commissioning editors. So you come to us. If you have an interactive project, we have a special session for interactive films. VR is a part of it. Cross-platforms are part of it. Short forms are part of it. But we also, starting from this year, we are also accepting interactive films for across all sections. So if you have an interactive film that is based on science, you can also apply to science section. So it's really, we're opening up to 360 funding system, basically.
Yeah.
And the third one was a series, but...
There was a 3-part series, which was sort of access to a British institution, observational documentary, and then a feature documentary, historical story, and then a virtual reality project.
I'm not sure about the British one, to be honest.
Okay.
But the other two, I would take it.
Right, okay. And have you got any way of measuring your success rate as a market?
It's very difficult to measure success rate because most of the deals that are done in a market, they stay confidential. What we do, though, we have going on observation system. So we come back to those projects. We actually follow the projects that are pitched. And we follow them over 3 years. And we recently have quite a lot of success stories that we have started running them actually in our blog. So one of the latest success stories that we had was with a film called Ebola, which is a German producer from AB Productions. The film got pitched at the Asian side. They picked up quite a lot of Asian broadcasters. They came to Sunnyside. They signed rest of the Europe. And I think it has become a 24-country broadcast, which is quite a big success, actually.
And you just mentioned Asian side there. So there's the Asian side and the Latin America side.
The Latin side is on hold right now,
okay.
But that's one of the particularities of Sunnyside as well. We operate on 3 continents, not just in Europe. So we have a very specific Asian event, which is actually created with an ambition to build bridges between Asia and Europe. So it actually gives us a lot of momentum from there. When there is money to be chased in Asia, we bring those people in, because we go there and we actually find those financiers and we find films that could be interesting to bring to the international market. And it's the same with Latin America. So we do operate in 3 countries, 3 continents. Really.
Okay, thank you. So Anna, I'm bringing the same projects to you.
Okay.
Who are you going to introduce me to?
Well, in a way, my answer is a bit simpler because you can enter any of them to the MeetMarket, because a whole kind of selling point, I suppose, is that we create meetings bespoke to your project. The virtual reality one would be entered into the AR market, although the submission form is the same for both markets. So you could enter it into both, and then we would direct it into the right place. We don't ask for funding attached, and you can be at any stage, just not finished, although funding attached does help. I think although we do have projects in there that don't have funding attached. And actually, there's a really good example of that one, just to give you a kind of journey for somebody that was quite new on the scene and didn't even have a kind of proper trailer yet, because we asked for a trailer, a 1-minute trailer. A project called Billy Now by Lindsay Dryden that subsequently went to Hot Docs this year. But she just pitched it like a crowdfunding video, and that was really, really effective. And that's often what we ask people to do, because we want to know who you are and why you're doing it almost, and what's your USP, what's your access. So if you don't have funding or an exec, they're the kinds of things that we need to know. But if you do have funding and an exec, that's also very helpful for us to see. It's the votes of confidence thing again, and that's what will ultimately make you successful in the market. So our objective is to get as many documentaries out there made and seen, so we want to know that we can actually help you.
Okay, so if I take my feature doc idea and it gets into MeetMarket, and I have all these great meetings with all the broadcasters I need to meet to finance my project, what's going to happen next for me?
You tell me. Well, yes. I mean, feature docs are a long game usually, and we do measure successes. We track our MeetMarket projects, and it's very interesting to see what happens. And we track them so that we can ensure that the next time we invite decision makers, we're inviting the right ones, the ones that respond, because there are some that don't.
Yeah, and I've pitched a lot of projects at MeetMarket in the past, and sometimes I found you have a really great meeting and you come away from it and you feel like, oh wow, my film's actually financed. I've 2 days work and I've got all the money I need. And then there's this sort of 3 months or even 6 months where you've sent everything to them that they've asked to see, and then you just don't hear anything back. And I think as a producer, where there are various deadlines coming up, like the Creative Europe Media funding and so on, where you need your 3 broadcasters attached in order to, hit that deadline, or if you're doing an observational doc and there's something that's going to happen at a certain point and you need the funding in place to do that, then it's difficult as a producer sometimes to think that you've had those meetings, they're positive, you're going to get the money, and then you just don't hear anything.
Yeah, to give you an idea of the kind of success rate, so last year, 3 months after the market, 52% of the AR market and MeetMarket projects reported deals done.
Yeah.
So, it's not 100%. And, so, but then you often see films kind of boomerang and come back around again years later.
And I guess it's making
which
those
isn't
contacts
very helpful.
as well.
But
if it's not right for that project, then at least you've got their email and their number, and you can, try them for another project as well.
So
But also, just to say, but I've known commissioning editors who actually complain that producers never follow up as well. So it goes it goes both ways, actually. I've known commissioning editors calling up to me and say, I really wanted to get into that project, and they never answered.
I have to say, sometimes commissioning editors call me up and ask if I've seen any projects on a particular theme.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, which happens, is happening increasingly more frequently, which is, I don't know, like, pay me to be your consultant then. But that's a different story. But I can answer this really quickly as well. One of the advantages of both the MeetMarket and the Dack-Ojumu market is that I don't care what you talk about in your individual meetings.
Yeah.
So pitch all 3 projects if you want, if you think that it makes sense to pitch all 3 projects to one person. But do your research. Make sure that you're not pitching a VR project to a commissioning editor who has a formatted 52-minute slot and can only be involved in a 52-minute film, or pitch them the 52-minute film and thus also make a VR about it. There are all kinds of, it's about independent production at the moment is about reacting agilely to a fluid market. And so I really take that into account, and I try to also then invite decision makers who have the ability to also react fluidly. There is a few of them. It's not everybody. So it's about doing your research, using our industry guides that we put together for you, and understanding what it is that a commissioning editor or a funder can actually fund, and then finding ways to work together in like clever ways. What I'm interested in for our market is projects in early stages of development. The earlier the better for our co-production market, because we are a co-production market. I feel like I have to say this like 1,000 times, but it's true. We're really interested in forging co-production, so you can't be in production, particularly in Germany, because it's then no longer really necessarily interesting to all of the producers we have. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.